We don't have to do it. If you
I mean, no, it's cool. I mean, like, I'm keen to, like, because it depends on who's, like, recording video. Like, someone
well,
will make you look really, really, really bad, and another person knows how to.
yes,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean,
Yeah.
and don't worry, I don't like intentionally try to
I know.
edit to make it look.
You just do
And
what you
like,
can.
and like, even if a person like looks bad in some part, I'll go out of my way to try to make it look better. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
the caveat to that is, if they exhibit a lot of characteristics of like personality disorders, narcissism, and they're just an abusive asshole, then I'm obligated to just put that out there.
Yeah, just let it.
Yeah.
The path of least
But you
resistance.
really don't seem like that to me. That
I'm
seems like
not.
the least kind of. No, you seem actually really sweet.
Unfortunately, I spent the majority of my life focusing every second on trying to make sure that's not the reality of my existence. Yeah.
Trying to make sure
That I don't seem like a dickhead.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that might lead you into a bit of a pit, trying to concern yourself how you're seen by other people too much.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I mean, I think that's big in Melbourne specifically, like
Yeah.
that I've seen. I see a lot of copies, you know, like people that I
Copiers.
people that don't grow too tall, like tall
Yeah.
poppies get chopped down generally, you know. So people usually only show what they think is acceptable by society. They don't try to grow
Yeah.
and show their true colors much because they're worried it might be shut down.
Definitely. And because most people have had their true color shut down, even if they're not aware of it. You know, wake up one day and yeah, things were different.
Yeah, well, I felt that way a lot. Like I was mute for most of my childhood, man. Like I didn't speak.
Yeah. See, I was always outspoken as a child, and then I sort of like entered into that like mutism.
Because you got in trouble, right?
Why? No, it's because like I just could not like look at anybody, let alone talk to anybody. Yeah.
Why was that, you think?
I just like eye contact. It was so uncomfortable.
Oh, for me too.
Yeah.
Even today, I can't make eye contact for a long time with people, like
Yeah.
even people that I know close. I'm just like,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no.
There's complete strangers you run into. It just seems like too familiar. Like it's just too intimate to connect with somebody in that way.
yeah.
If there's like some kind of history of like discomfort.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely. And like, I don't
Sometimes.
know how much you're into like sci-fi, but like my favorite book is the Dresden Files. It's about
I don't know that one.
it's about a private investigator that happens to be a wizard, right?
Okay.
And the reason why he doesn't look people in the eyes too much is because he says it initiates what's called a soul gaze. They kind of like look into each other's souls, and there's this connection. And that can be dangerous because whatever
You can change things. Yeah.
you kind of see into them and they see into you, and there's this thing going on. He calls it the sight, like the third eye sight or whatever. Like you see the world between. When you do that to somebody with eye contact, you can initiate like opening up that gate really easily, and whatever you see with those eyes stay with you. So that's why he's very cautious when he opens it.
You don't know where to put it.
Exactly.
Like definitely, because if like you're looking at somebody who has very carefully constructed spaces to place that sort of energy, and then you're sort of like given it, and it's like, oh, I don't know, my hands are full, and I'm just juggling a whole bunch of inconceivable and unprecedented kind of. Yeah, it can be a lot. It can be. Sometimes you just gotta drop it on the ground, and it starts a fucking wildfire, and it doesn't stop.
Here's a curious question though. Do you think it's more so worried what they might see in you or what you might see in them?
I think it depends, because like I think for me, like at that point I would have like already seen too much of them, and then like I would assume that they, even before I had seen a lot of them because of their ability, had seen too much of me. Or I don't know, it seems like maybe there's like a skill imbalance, or but you know, we all have the same abilities. It just depends on who's like, yeah, in a particular state of mind. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we're not all at the same spot though. like for real. Like, I mean, you say it as like skill level, but I reckon it's like, I reckon each of us has a different level of baggage.
Of
Right.
what?
Of like baggage, of like,
Baggage.
basically, I'll try to
Yeah, it's a
replays in your own mind about your history, things that have gone on, past traumas and stuff. That's playing in the background of your mind.
Yeah, exactly what I was gonna say.
So the people that have more of that have more of a filter when they're dealing with people, and all the things that they experience with objective reality external to them has to filter through that. And the more baggage you have, the more you're going to mishear people and misunderstand and like see things through that tint.
The more perspectives you're gonna have for sure, yeah. And probably be more adaptable.
Could be.
But then highly attuned to limitations and boundaries, I think. And like knowing like where to draw certain lines because they've had to draw so many, probably.
Yeah, I have issues with boundaries. I don't think like I'm good at exerting my own boundaries.
Yeah. My opinion of what a boundary is changes every hour.
Well, I think a boundary is like basically like if you cross this line, then this will happen as a result. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And like in the most like fundamental sense, boundaries are usually spoken about like in relationship terms. So it's like a boundary is like, well, if you keep crossing the boundaries out of like what we both choose that this relationship is, then that's not what we have anymore.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it falls apart.
Yeah. Falls apart, maybe expands to like a sort of like larger boundary, like creating more territory perhaps, like
Renegotiating the deal. It's like, yeah, it's okay. We thought we were this, but maybe we're this now. Right.
yeah, changing shapes of the boundaries wherever they are. Where are they? Yeah.
This is the most awkward seats in the world.
I never have time to get comfortable ever, so this is quite a luxury. You know, if you may believe me, I literally never have time to sit down and like make myself comfortable.
Yeah.
Homeless things.
I think people, they underestimate like, you know, the utility of taking the time to make sure that you're comfortable. Like,
Yeah.
there was this sweet old lady today that jumped in the tram, right? And the tram driver was like, hurry up, get the tram.
Oh,
and, like,
really?
She's like, oh, I'm sorry, honey, just give me a sec. and like, she like sits down next to me. She was like, she says like, oh, I'm trying to quote her correctly. But she's like, like, oh, it's strong man's work getting old or something like that. Like, just like really like, I was just like, oh, I feel you, lady. She looked like she was like, she's pretty old. Like, I told her, I was like, you know, you don't have to match the pace of the world.
Yeah.
Just because the world, like something along those lines, just because the world wants to pressure you to make you at their pace, you don't need to comply to that. You don't need to be complicit. You take your damn sweet old time,
Kick
lady.
that door
Right?
down.
You've been around. You've earned the right to take your time getting on that fucking tram.
That's right.
Yeah.
What kind of a dickhead wouldn't let somebody just like waltz under the tram at their own speed?
Dude, that's just Melbourne.
Oh, well, that's mean. Because I walked past someone like before who like, there was this car that beeped. And I was like, oh, okay. And someone was like, fucking dickhead or something. And I'm like, that's not nice. And now I'm just repeating exactly what he said, despite the fact that it's not nice. And that's why that was a bit too much.
Here's the thing as well.
Yeah.
People misunderstand and misconstrue you speaking about the evil in the world or the shit stuff in the world
Yeah.
as you being that because you're bringing it up.
Or attacking it even. And
Yeah.
like, it's not even worth attacking.
But I think that if we don't address and look at the evils in the world and things that are going on that are fucked up, you know, then we are more complicit to it to one degree or the other. I think we almost have a responsibility, you know, because if we stop doing that as a society, stop being like, that's fucked up. We shouldn't do that, because we're all now being like, And we can't say that anything's fucked up because that's nasty.
Yeah, everything's perfect now. Yeah, high vibes only.
Then,
Yeah, we're all safe all the time. Haha.
then, haha, we're all dead soon, very soon, because we're not looking at any of the dangers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you're gonna walk into a very deep pit. Yeah, and that's what happened to me.
You fell into a deep pit because you weren't looking.
Well, I was just like telling myself for like throughout the entire COVID period, it's like I'm safe, I'm fine, I'm happy, I can do anything I want. Like life is perfect, I'm in a bliss state, yada yada. You know, every day I'm like transcending like through the clouds and like everything's perfect. But like you look between the gaps and it's like, hang on, what was I missing? What was I compensating for? And then I found myself in like a place of complete comfort like a year or so after the fact, after like just suffering through so much shit, getting stuck in a fucking like a physical like cult, like just traveling and like talking to fucking not a single person and just balancing myself out. And then one day fucking cults, man, fucking
sorry to cut you off one day.
no, it's fine. And then just, you know, one day somebody really really close to you tries to hurt you or confuses you to the point where you just kind of like your whole world flips on its head, and you got to run away from everything you've built and every single comfort that you constructed over so many years and through so much fucking torture, and start again. And then your whole body gets destroyed because you're never comfortable and constantly trying to rebuild. And I just wonder if like everyone goes through that like all the time and they just ignore it, like they're constantly traumatized, or if like I just saw this like event as like definitely like a turning point. I was like a family member like tried to hurt me like real bad, and, like got me like really fucked up on heroin, like without my consent, like the first time it's like ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, first of all, what is going on? I'm in a car full of fucking heroin. Second, how am I going to sleep a single night more at like my family home, knowing that this person is capable of this thing? And they don't even live there.
So the whole idea of family,
which doesn't exist to me anymore.
Safe. Yeah. Me neither. I mean, not to cut you off too much,
no,
but
please do.
I relate so much. Fuck, you have no idea, man. Like,
yeah.
And so many others out there relate.
I know.
Deep ways, man. Like, I've felt this my entire life. I was never welcome in my family because
Black sheep.
Yeah, well, mainly because my mother was the black sheep that they all raped and abused and were complicit about it. And because I'm her son, they were worried about if I don't join the Dark Empire and become complicit,
totally.
At least, then I might cause problems for them.
Essentially, of course, if you don't completely become what they expected you to.
So that is exactly what occurred. The only other person that I know that has spoken out about the abuses in my family was my auntie. Her name was Erin, and she died very soon after.
She died very soon after?
Yes, and I've reason to believe that the family was involved. They didn't let my mother speak at her own funeral. She was abused too by the same person that they all covered for. So not to bring it down too much, because there's a light in this. The light is that I felt the same way for so long, and you feel so isolated because you look at everyone else and you think like, are they going through the same shit?
Yeah.
It's like,
of course they are.
The answer is to one degree or the other. Mm-hmm. When you see that they don't show any of the things, you know, just because you feel it, or maybe on a deeper level that it shows more.
Well, you've got more time to think about it. Maybe.
Doesn't mean that they're not going through different shit, but they may be going through so much worse stuff, but they're better at burying it. They're souped up on so many pharmaceuticals and shit just to keep their brain numb and distracted.
Often not consensually or knowingly.
Yeah, well, there's this whole like diffusion of responsibility, because they'll be like, well, my GP told me to go on this and he's the expert, I just follow what he tells me to do. So
they don't even know how to pronounce it or what's actually in it. Like
Harry Potter spells, bro.
Yeah, there's so many ingredients in any one drug with like one name. One name. They're different everywhere.
But yeah, I think that I just smoke weed, and it seems to me like that's the best medicine I need to deal with life anyway. Like,
Yeah,
I've had a lot of crazy shit happen.
yeah,
I don't. I see the effects of all these other drugs on people, and I'm like, wow, this is terrible. I don't want to do that.
yeah. Depends on quality, accessibility, consistency. How's your weight?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How's my weight?
How's your weight?
Weed. Oh, it's pretty good, but this is just a dough. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah. See, I love weed. Weed heals me to no end. Like,
I thought you said that you didn't smoke.
I can't because I'm an absolute scapegoat to society. And if anyone has any problem with me, they'll pin it on the weed and they'll probably get me arrested forever. Yeah. Or probably on some, like, fucked up pharmaceutical medication. Yeah. It's really bad. I can't even, like, have a beer, honestly. It's, like, bad.
I get what you're doing. It's kind of elliptical because you're leaving big chunks of the story out. I get that.
Yeah.
But like, that sucks, bro.
I used to be able to explain it very
Well,
clearly.
maybe a lot of it's personal as well. You don't get into it. As
Yeah.
well.
No, I love weed. I wish I could smoke weed, but
So how does it affect you negatively though? Like, what happens?
well, it's just like with cigarettes that I've recently discovered. When they're not from a reliable source or you didn't grow it yourself, for me, it's often like the cigarette or the bud will either contain some kind of an upper or a downer. Fresh, yeah. I mean, I was getting the prescription stuff, and it was just like definitely contained pharmaceuticals, like,
Oh.
and I don't know if it was because like the people in my family are a bit fucked up or like genetics, those kind of like synaptic connections. Yeah. So like I had an oil, and it like would literally just like knock me the fuck out. It felt like I was on like
Yeah.
benzos or something, and it was so like it just made my stomach like stop working and like.
Yeah, they're putting something weird in that.
Yeah, yeah, weird. I couldn't digest food anymore. And the flour was like so strong that I like literally like I forget if it was a week or a month, but I like literally like stayed inside. Like I like learned how to skate like pretty well and was like really enjoying my life. And then I get on this fucking like indica flour and I just stopped moving. Like forever. Yeah. Like not happy. Like lying on the floor, like incapacitated, like, and like can't even see my phone screen. Like everything is just like fucking like, yeah.
Yeah, that seems to me like you've got like a sensitivity to these chemicals and these additives that they
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had good experiences with weed before. You've had like just regular weed.
Well, you have to flip it. I mean, like, because if you're constantly eating shit and consuming shit chemicals, like you have to learn how to contend with that because otherwise you would have just died a long time ago. Like, so who knows for how long I was smoking like laced weed.
Yeah, it trips me out when I think about it. I don't like to think about it too much, but it's like the ecosystem in our body. We have more like foreign cells in our body than our own cells that are like native to our body.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is trippy to think about.
I don't even feel like any part of my body is actually my body. Like I
Me
feel like
neither,
it's
like-
always just like it's always like the cells are always dying, and especially because I'm under like so much like specialized stress.
Yeah,
I don't know many other people who are like consciously dealing with that kind of like growth. It seems like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of changes that go through traumatic.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm having this feeling like I'm like hamster on the wheel. Like I put all this effort in, I'm staying in the same spot.
Yeah.
But I need external reminders of people to show me my progression for me to even see it myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I got like really low self-esteem, and I have this like internal narrative that's always telling me really negative things. Like I've got like abandonment brain, so I'm like thinking that everyone's eventually gonna end up hating me for some reason and like rejecting me over something. It's called like abandonment brain.
Oh.
People
yeah.
get it when like they're abandoned a lot. Like my dad left when I was a baby. My first experience in life, it's kind of funny, right? My mom come out of my mother's vagina, big forceps in my head, squash my head, pull it out,
Yeah.
and like
Shake it a little.
yeah, and like the doctor's like, it's a boy, and my mom's like, no, it's not. I don't believe you, and like just like rejecting me like immediately. The instant I get in life is like, yeah, that's kind of like why I don't use my name that was given by her, because it was an afterthought from a female name that she was going to give me. Yeah,
so she just tried her best to kind of like deal with that in that way, and you didn't even want to let her because you thought she deserved better, and you thought you deserved better.
No, I never thought I deserved anything because I had such low self-esteem because everyone abandons, you know?
Yeah, fully.
Father, when I was a baby, mom, because of all that. And then the whole family, you know, because I'm her son.
Yeah, fully. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
But so much more people have gone through experiences like that than what it would seem. It's just people keep that shit to themselves generally. I think it's just because I'm a bit autistic, I just overshare everything.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
And especially since you said that you were going through it, I just want to say, like, motherfucker, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
I go through it too, and others have as well. Like, and
I do know.
It helps to remind us and talk about that. Because, man, people only feel alone about this shit because people are so unwilling to just speak freely about stuff.
It seems like... Sorry, go on.
I'm saying people are guarded.
People are what?
People are guarded. That's what I find appealing about you. You don't seem very guarded, like you're willing to talk about shit, which is cool.
That's what everyone says, but I feel like in every social circle, I've been the one person who is the least capable of like socializing on any level whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It just it just comes down to if somebody's really interested in anything I have to say, and if they don't, it's very obvious, and then I'll just like won't really engage.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm like, because I already know from the outset of normal society how the normies interact, let's say, you know? And I know...
I've heard that word in so long.
I know...
Words just disappear. Yeah.
I know I don't fit in that, so I don't try to put myself into that, to go through that rejection, unless I'm feeling particularly self-masochistic, which I have before at times, like Christmas or birthdays, whatever, when everyone's like with their family and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll go out there and like almost purposely just surround myself with all these people that have close friends and family, just to be that guy that they'll eventually be like, oh, we got to go to this thing now and bye, we can't really, this is just for like the family now. Like I'll repeat that cycle because I'm like repeating that thing of when my family rejected me for exposing shit. So
gotcha.
I think
so
I'm like totally psychoanalyzing, probably incorrectly, but like
you're still trying to figure it out, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't have conclusions, I just have reckonings.
You don't need to have conclusions.
But I'm piecing together like my childhood. I don't know if you deal with this, but like if you're going through trauma, sometimes your memories get like fractured and you try to piece together what actually happened.
I have so many lost memories.
Right. Dude, most of my childhood's like a blank. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, I don't even know how old I am.
What, really?
Yeah.
Dude.
No clue.
It's crazy.
So I kind of just would consider myself infinitely old, because I don't have a starting point.
But you don't have a lot of the things that tie people into like society as we know it as well.
This is true.
Is it important to know your age? Is it important to know your name?
Yeah, I think so. But
Maybe,
age,
maybe,
not name.
but maybe not though, because
Yeah.
you were saying before that you don't feel like your body. I've never felt like my body.
Yeah. Well, I feel my body so closely that I just like know where all of my cells are at all times, and I feel like I'm everywhere at all times. And that's a bit like that's a dangerous statement to make.
To some, not
To some.
not to me.
Yeah, I know. It's like that. Everything I feel is like that. Yeah.
You feel that there is a part of you that is connected to everything.
I feel like there's a danger in the way that I experience the reality of my being because I don't really have time for like falsities, which I feel is the same with you.
Yeah.
So, and people like to feel like they need to, yeah, lie, even like on smaller sort of scales.
Of course.
And you're very honest, and I appreciate that because I don't talk to many people, or I don't find myself feeling comfortable enough to talk to many people who are on that kind of like ability. Yeah. Because people lie a lot, and then I'm very like reciprocative, and so I will just like match them so they feel comfortable, even though I would rather just like sit and wait until I feel like I'm in a space where I actually want to be.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've thought this before that I think like, I'm like, cause like, and I'm from Byron, and I'm like, do I need to like find where all the autistic people are just to have conversations with no filter and bullshit and fuckery? Because no matter what you say, like wherever they are on the spectrum, they don't have filter. And I've spoken to a lot of them before, and I get along. I'm just like, we have conversations like this. Like,
Yeah.
there's just no bullshit and fuckery, you know? Like, but it annoys me that society has reached a point where it lays that impression on people. I'm like, well, I need to go to people with a mental disorder in order just to have an honest conversation. Like, are we really at that point?
I don't feel like anyone's got a mental disorder.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
No. I think there is a lot of problems and bullshit and with the diagnosis dynamic and how that is all. I don't think that's correct. There's a lot of problems with it. That being said, there are these clusters of behaviors, archetypal personalities that have a name and have been around for hundreds of years. We've all spoken about them.
Yeah.
But it's like religion. It just gets twisted and people get on power trips and like, we shall remove the word retarded from the DSM because it hurts people's feelings. We can't use it anymore. All these doctors around the world would be like, but how do we describe people with the condition of retardation? Can we have another word, please? No, we just can't say it. So basically the entire medical world just laughed at them. They were like, you fucking dumb idiots. Like, we've got to, like, how else can we describe retardation? Your son has blank of the pelvis. You know, like, yeah, you can't, you've got to be able to talk about it.
Yeah. I've never even like understood what that word actually means.
Retardation.
Maybe like aversion.
It's like a stunting of growth.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a stunting of growth. You could have a retardation of a plant.
Like a disconnection.
Yeah. It's got a stunted growth. It's not growing correctly. You know?
Yeah.
As a human in general would event.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably retarded in lots of ways. Like, I'm arrested development for one, because like.
What does that mean?
Arrested development means like, usually you have through childhood, early adulthood, you have certain life experiences. You have friends, you have family, you go through life events. I didn't have that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't think many of us actually did.
I know, and that causes this arrested
Yeah.
development because we never really had a childhood.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think we're all very much in the same boat with that.
I think so.
Like a lot of us, yeah.
I look around and like I don't know if it's just like the company that I find myself being associated with, even like non-verbally, just like when I walk past. Everyone seems very, very, very normal and very highly functioning and very good.
I know what you mean. And it's a lie. They're all lying. It's all bullshit.
Well, I just
Nobody is like that. That's just the mask.
like at the same time, maybe just like they're the people who are like just got so good at learning to like deal with suffering, and it's so impressive to me.
They're not necessarily dealing with it. They may have buried it very deep. They may have, like, the dynamic that I see is baby comes into the world. What baby needs more than anything is love, acceptance, right? Baby dies without it, right?
Yeah.
So at a very, very early stage, the family dynamic consciously or unconsciously molds the baby's personality
Yeah.
by rewarding behaviors that it likes from the baby. And the baby's like, oh, I need to act and be like this in order to get the thing that stops me from dying. So
Yeah.
when they grow up old enough to develop some kind of free will, they'll be like, they'll either face that dynamic and see that split within themselves, the actual true personality that's growing that is them, and the mask that they had to wear in order to get what they needed to survive, right? So some people never realize that it was a mask. They confuse that for who they actually are, and they're in their 30s and 40s and 50s and they still think that that's actually them, this mask that they wore since a baby to get what they need.
A mask they were given, a mask that was put on them.
Yes.
And sometimes they've learned to take it off themselves, but then other people might even still apply that mask without them even noticing.
And you take it off a little bit, it scares people, they run away, you put the mask back on pretty quickly.
It's a bit too powerful, they're a bit too happy, a bit too well in their own space and kindness. Maybe we'll just keep them looking a little shit, and that'll make us feel better about the way that we still are. But I think that there's a lot of influence on individual families and like existing dynamics which hurt people who are trying to bring life into the world and who might not even know like what they're actually doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's unconscious, a lot of it, but like just because they're complicit to evil, because of their ignorance, doesn't make them any less guilty. Like I'm the person that starts screaming at random people on the street if they're abusing their children in public, because I know like that can create a Ted Bundy down the road. Like you have so much responsibility as a parent, and fuck you for fucking that up in front of all of us. Like, because back in the day when we were tribal about this shit, you know, like it was the responsibility of the entire village to raise the kid, you know?
Well, it's just that it just falls into that, doesn't it? Everyone feels kind and loving towards a new life. Otherwise, it wouldn't continue existing for another moment.
Well, the problem is they're all in it for what they can get out of it, and when they realize that they're not getting out of what they thought they would get out of having a child,
yeah, it's like,
holy shit. You know, I was seeing these street interviews where this guy was just asking people why they had kids. Every single one of them, man, it broke my heart, because it was always like, well, we thought we should have kids because it would do this for us and me. So again, that's the mask that they put on that kid. You're gonna be this for us, you know?
Yeah.
They don't realize that that kid may live an entire life never knowing who the fuck they are.
Yeah. It's family says, oh, we had kids because, you know, we grew up and that was the expected thing. Like, you know, yeah, you get a house, you get a fucking fruit bowl, you put apples in it, like, buy a few bed frames. Then you have kids, you know, and it's like fucking, well, maybe you should have bought a house with a fewer rooms. Maybe you should have slowed down, figured out what you wanted to do first and how to fix all of the other traumas in your life. Because, I mean, I think a lot of people actually who have children are highly intelligent, and
Sometimes.
sometimes they fall like. I think to like to choose for child rearing, you have to be of a certain kind of like capacity in knowing how to care for something. And we're all raised in this kind of like hypersynthetic fucking like plastic world where like
Yeah.
looking around, I wouldn't expect that anyone would actually know how to raise a child unless they were like instructed, because we're all just instructed on how to do everything.
Do you think you should be able? You should need to apply for a license to have a child? Because I often thought that.
Oh.
Yeah.
It depends on where you are. It depends on where you live.
I reckon the entire world, man. I reckon you should be able to have a license to raise a child.
I think that there would have to be many different kinds of licenses.
Yeah, depending on the culture. I understand because some cultures would be raising kids differently, I
Yeah,
suppose.
well, that's how it would be. There would be no like two same licenses.
Yeah, you would need to have this universal kind of like acceptance of, because like I always thought, so this other idea I had, like a rent a family, would have like a academy where people would go and they would get a doctorate in being a father or being a mother or whatever, and they would have all the experts in psychology or whatever training these people, and then they would pass and have this certification and would sell the shit as insurance for rich families that already just pay for like nannies to raise their kids. It's
Right.
like save money on parole later on by fucking them up less when they're younger, so they're not bailing them out of prison later.
Just do a little swapsy. Just bring in a new parent.
Insurance, child insurance.
Of course. A little buffer, or just a new home for a while.
But the sad truth of it is the world that most people see is cold-hearted and people don't give a fuck. And it's sticky as well, especially when children are involved. Like, how can you involve yourself in another person's family? If you see like a father abusing their kid or whatever, like I'll say, I was in a situation once where I was at work. This father, I think he was the father of the kid, came in, it's him, his missus, and the kid's crying, and the kid's maybe like 4 or 5, this boy, and he's like, stop crying, whatever. And he's still crying. And he says, we don't need you anymore. We
To the
have
kid.
Yeah, we have Tim now.
I've heard that so many
Right?
times.
I know. How fucked is that?
Yeah.
We're just gonna get rid of you because
Yeah.
we have a replacement now?
Yeah.
Bro, and I had just to look at that guy and sell him the fucking shirt or whatever that he's buying and like not even say anything. And I felt like such a piece of shit. Couldn't sleep, like, and I'm like, what can you do in that situation? Like, how can you help them?
It's a very difficult one.
I have a ruthless solution.
Please?
Alright, I'm gonna answer my own question.
Yeah.
Please don't take it the wrong way.
I don't think I will.
I'm not religious or preachy,
Neither am I.
but I have had experiences in my life where I feel that God, the creator of the universe, has led me supernaturally to know what to do in the right moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Centrelink and Sunshine.
Oh. Okay. Good morning.
I know. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking alright. So it's like,
Yeah.
I go to Centrelink and it's like, there's this damo that comes in and he's abusing his missus, just yelling at her and that. And there's a little girl there, maybe 4 or 5, cute as fuck, and freaking out, crying. And he grabs her by the hair, rips her, starts dragging her out of the fucking Centrelink by her hair. And the girl is just crying and everything. All the while this is going on, I'm making eyes with the bouncer for Centrelink, like, are you going to do anything, mate? And like, he's giving me all facial expressions, like he's got his eyes on the situation. I'm like, all right. But when he dragged her out, I'm like, are you going to do anything? He's like, well, it's out of the office, I can't be involved. I was like, well, shit.
Oh.
So, and I'm looking around and nobody's doing anything, man. Like the place is packed, nobody's gonna do anything. So I run out there and I'm asking God to try to lead me what I do because I don't want this to end badly for anyone. And my major concern is just the kid gets out of there. Okay. So
So where though? It's like, where's that kid going next?
who knows? Who knows? But like, how much can I involve myself in the life of a stranger? Right? So
Yeah.
I go out behind him, right? I give my most intimidating, oi, right?
Yeah.
Because I know these types, right? He immediately drops her and turns to me like,
He was still holding her, by the way.
yeah, by the head, dragging her down the street, drops her, turns to me, it's like, oh yeah. I look at him,
Yeah.
say no words, turn very slowly on my heel, and start walking very slowly back to the Centrelink office. Meanwhile, keeping my eyes on the reflection of the window of him coming up behind me for a suck punch, as I knew he would.
Oh shit. Yeah.
So I timed it so I lured him enough, and then I pirouetted inside the fucking Centrelink, doors slammed, motherfucker. While this happened, the girl went to the mother, shit you know, taxi came around the corner. Right at that moment, they got in, they fucked off, he's on the street, girls with the mother and gone. And I'm like, I couldn't have done that. I wouldn't have known how to act on my own accord. There was a little voice in my head just saying, do this, do this.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, that's a miracle. It was like supernatural, you know, like timing, taxi, and then just
It's very impressive.
gone. It's not me. Like
Yeah, I know.
I give credit to him for that. I'm not saying like I'm bragging. I'm trying to say this as a dynamic of how to deal with hairy, complex situations where you don't know what's clear action, the good or right thing to do. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna fight this guy. I'm not some fucking tough guy, man.
Did he touch you though? Did he hit
No.
you? No,
No, not once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I've been in the riot trying to defend somebody else, I have never been injured. And I'm not
likewise.
tough. There's just
Yeah.
I believe in the supernatural, and I believe that
Well,
God supernaturally enables people that are willing to help others and defend the people that can't defend themselves. It just happens.
totally.
Alright.
I know. I'm the same.
Or maybe I'm crazy.
No, I'm driven by that need to. And I don't get hurt ever. I know exactly what to do and exactly what steps to take during that communication.
I've had a guy run up to me to punch me. This is gonna make it sound really crazy. It's like about 3 a.m. in the morning in Brunswick Heights, you know, in New South Wales. Goes to punch and then just like appearingly hits like an invisible wall in front of me, and goes to punch again, hits it, and in this dome just keeps on trying to hit me, and he can't, and then he just fucks off.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that. It could just been like some crackhead. Like,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
it felt very supernatural.
Because sometimes, like, people will take it to that point where it's just about to get to your skin, and they can't. And that's all they needed was to, like, have the capacity to be able to try to defend themselves, but, like, knowing at the same time they couldn't actually hurt somebody else. The fact that he tried a few times says, like, oh shit, he was, like, probably trying to figure out, like, whether or not he was actually that benevolent, like, because it sounds like that person is on some kind of a level where they probably felt like they were a really bad person and like other people were out to get them, but they probably changed their mind at the last minute. I don't know. Yeah. Physical abuse is a funny one for me.
Yeah, I put it down to bullies, and all bullies are narcissists. Not to diagnose anyone about disorders or anything, but like narcissism specifically is like a very clear image to me. Like, because I've seen those clustered behaviors so much. I'm like, bro, you're walking like a duck, you're quacking like a duck, you're probably a duck, you know. And
It used to be for me.
yeah, so it's like they're just bullies, like adult bullies, and bullies
Are bullied.
were bullied, of course, but they abuse. But why though? Because they're narcissists. But what is a narcissist though?
Somebody cares about themselves a lot.
People that they get the shit wrong. It's such an easy dynamic. Narcissists are drug addicts. Their drug is your emotion, your reaction, your energy, your focus.
That's what they say.
Right.
Yes.
So usually
It's just energy.
the two biggest ways they get supply, that energy, when human beings release the most energy, you think about like the Matrix and being fed on by machines, you got to jab them with sex or violence. That triggers the most primal emotions. So that's what you see mostly through narcissists are trying to trigger some kind of emotional reaction, usually through sex, usually through violence.
I feel like there are so many other categories of like passion.
Oh
that
yeah.
We're just all.
Emotion in general, but those two are like the most.
It's like why,
Because we're human beings, how we evolved.
But there are so many other like forms.
There's many ways to play the game, but most people just see the same ways and they just keep repeating the same thing. Like a good way to describe it is, I read this book once, the Celestine Prophecy. Have you heard of that?
Celestine Prophecy. I think I may have read it. Is it about like the Aztec? Is it the Aztec one?
It's kind of to do with that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like about the energy world and stuff.
I have read that. That was highly impactful for me.
It was a great book.
It was a good book.
But I'm just saying about this book describes how there's other options. Like when this person opened up their site, what they saw is most people have like this vampiric exchange of energy. You have one person that is vampirically sucking the energy from the other person. But then he saw the rare type, which is usually people that are in love, truly. And what he saw with them is the energy body around them, they give each other both their energy freely to each other, and therefore create more energy than there would have been before with just them by themselves. So you have this like abundance of energy growing, and it self-sustains them, and they grow and they just walk through life in this bubble of light, And so that too is an option, but most people don't go that way.
But most people don't go that way. Yeah, I don't.
Well, because everyone steals your energy usually, so why would you just be giving it freely if everyone just vampirically takes it from you?
It takes a lot to understand somebody, especially if they're stealing energy, especially if they're doing it consciously. It takes a lot to meet them on that, to kind of like create more energy from that. And then when you can, it's just infinitely bountiful, and it like literally takes over the whole world like in a second.
Creating more energy by giving energy to somebody that was vampiric.
I stopped giving energy to people a long time ago. But it just like it just flows freely.
I have to be selective where I put my energy, because you mentioned that thing, and I was like, well, I've given my energy a lot to vampiric people before in the past, so much to the point where I was going to drown along with them,
Yeah, fully.
So
it becomes easy to drown with other people, and then to learn to suck other people's energy, or that feeling that you're sucking energy, but at the same time they could just be paying way too much attention to you for like unforeseen reasons. Figured that one out.
Macroing. I macro too. That's why I put a word to it. When you said before, you're like, I know what every cell in my body is doing, right? I have this thing as well where I like macro. I look too much at the big picture and I feel like I'm frozen in spot and I can't do anything because there's too many moving parts, there's too many factors, and I have decision paralysis. What do I do? So I have to stop focusing on the macro, and whenever I'm doing that, I have to narrow down to the most practical thing to focus on. It could just be doing like one thing in the day and getting that done. But
it could just be getting up from a table, like at a bar, like you like literally don't know how you get up from the table anymore.
How do we get up from here?
Exactly.
I feel like I'm planted here.
Well, I feel like this is not the particular
spot,
like instance I'm talking about, but like I can't go to bars because I just like I can't watch a music performance because I literally like feel like I'm sucking all the energy in for some reason. But I don't know if because there's attention on me, because I'm generally in my like social spheres and family have been like quite focused on for some reason. I don't have family anymore, but
yeah, me neither.
It just feels like I'm always like watched, and I'm not afraid to say that anymore. But like definitely like that.
Watched in what way?
Just observe. Like people are afraid of me, or people like don't know what I'm gonna do next and trying to figure it out. Or they think I know what I'm gonna do next, so they're like getting ready to like attack or like react in some kind of a way. And at the same time, I've like never like actually been like outwardly violent towards anybody except for when I was a child and like provoked. Like when people are like literally like grabbing my arms from like side to side and like trying to like fucking like throw me somewhere. It's like, yeah, that's different. You know, then I'm gonna bite. But it's like,
Could it be that perhaps just because you don't fit, you're very much not a normie?
not a what?
You're not a normie, so you stand out, right?
Not a normie.
So, well, you don't advertise like that, and they can smell that out, and that breeds fear in them because you're not predictable.
Well,
So maybe it's got nothing to do with you. You don't look formidable. I don't take you as threatening at all. But you being an unknown is threatening to those that are so obsessed with control and order. Like, oh, bro.
'cause I don't know anybody.
Just fair enough the fuck out of you until you just start being normal again. Like,
Yeah, I feel like everyone always knows everyone wherever I am, and because I don't engage and I don't feel like I have to like prove myself, I'm always just like in the corner, like I don't have to talk to you, I don't have to look at you, but like you know who I am already, it's fine. And people are afraid of that because they just like they want you to like meld into their being in the space, and they want you to change with them and to become better or worse with them.
I think they want you to role play with them. I think that's what's going on with most of societies and most of relationships. I noticed this dynamic when I first moved to Melbourne 10 years ago. I moved in with this like young socialist guy and this old socialist guy, and they would have the same routine interaction, conversation every day like clockwork when they came back from work. And I'm like, is this comforting to them?
That's like a meditative process.
Yeah, it's like this comforting role play, like, we are friends. This is how friends act.
Yes.
How are you going today?
Yes.
Oh, that was nice. Bing, bing bong. But it was so repetitive. It was the same thing, same topic every day for years, bro. And this guy, he was playing this Middle Eastern flute thing. He'd play the same song every night trying to learn it for years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, some people just get stuck and they're unaware that they're not aware. That
Yeah, totally.
they're not present. They're addicted to these pathological cycles that gives them what they need psychologically. It fulfills their psychological needs. Like, for instance, we don't have family.
Yeah.
Probably a reason why you got so you were so susceptible to joining that cult
To join the
in the first place, right?
Well, I just, you know, I just became homeless.
Yep, I've been there too.
I know.
I only recently got out of that though, actually. Yeah.
Shit. So you've got a home now?
Yeah. I'm so happy. It's an insanely big room, but here's the thing. I got imposter syndrome and abandonment brain, so I'm just thinking every night, when are they going to kick me out? I did something wrong, or
Totally.
you know,
Because you're always kicked out of places or driven out.
I'm always abandoned and rejected from every single person, every friend, every relationship, every family. And so that's the thing, it's not so much in my head. It's not crazy for me to think that that's likely going to happen in the future, because that's all that's happened in the past, you know, like.
It's hard like that.
Yeah. The way I deal with it, tackle everything when you cross that bridge, when you get to it, you know.
Yep, and there are, well, I don't see many bridges.
It's so funny that they have that expression, eh?
Yeah.
Cross that bridge when you get to it. But it doesn't really feel like a bridge, does it? It feels like a fucking demolition, and then
Exactly.
you gotta build the bridge yourself. It's like, you should say like, you know, cross that destroyed, demolished bridge and build your own bridge when you get to that demolished bridge. But that's more of a wordful, so.
Yeah, because I don't want to have to try to figure out how to make a new bridge from the fucking rubble.
Yeah, what I found is that I think maybe there's a fate to life. Like, I believe in fate. And I think part of my role in society is to be the outsider. Like, Batman couldn't do what he needed to do. Not to compare myself to Batman, but he wouldn't be Batman if it wasn't for what happened to his family, or if he got, like,
True.
a serious relationship. That fucked him up when he was with that girl in that one Batman film.
I don't know, but yeah.
Right?
I know he was a baby.
There you go.
Yeah. Right. Wasn't he, like, left in a field or something? I don't fucking know.
No, he's like, parents were shot by
Oh,
some
that's right.
person who was trying to mug them.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he dedicated his life to fighting crime.
I wish I was cool enough to know about superheroes, but I always feel very inadequate when people talk about superheroes. It's kind of embarrassing.
The real life ones are far more inspirational, but we don't usually hear about them a lot.
Yeah.
Like, there's this one guy who was famous in the UFC. I'll have to remember his name, but he is Samoan. He's known as the Super Samoan. You know, blonde hair. He like Well, anyway, he was abused a lot when he was young, right? His family was and that, and he felt like he was complicit. He couldn't do anything to save those kids, right? So he used that fuel a lot to train, fight, and become one of the best.
Kids, like the kids in his family and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used all that anger and stuff to become a good fighter, and now that he's built this empire of sorts, he's going to use that to start a charity where he helps kids out of the same abuseful like environments. And I'm like, motherfucker, that's a superhero.
Yeah.
Like
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, like, are you trying to actually fight and help those that can't help themselves? You know, then you're a fucking superhero. And yeah, we should probably help those people, like, because again, like, everyone lies, so everyone tries to like present themselves as this person, but people that are actually doing it should receive some more kudos rather than like 150,000 views for like some dude shaking his ass or something.
Yeah, views are scary. Do
Huh?
you get views?
I got 30,000 views in a few days the other day.
That's cool.
That kind of scared me a bit. I was like,
It would. Yeah.
But it was all part of this social experiment anyway. Like, I'm like hated by 30,000 people now. It's great. It's funny. Basically, this guy I bought dumplings off.
Yeah.
I came to get them, but I took too long, and he ate them all. And I'm like, bro, can I have my dumplings? And he's like, yeah, you can fuck up. I'm like, can I have a refund? He's like, no. And then he started threatening me. I'm a vet. I serve this country. I don't have to take this
Oh
shit.
shit! I'm gonna eat your dumplings.
You got three. And he's a big fat guy. He's like, I'm gonna eat your dumplings. Anyway, and then what's funny is because he used the usual manipulative gaslighting tactics of bullies, of narcissists, and because society has been conditioned to be complicit to that, or almost not even see that. Like, they usually call out the victim of the abuse as being the abuser. The person
definitely.
that calls out the issue with society as being the problem with society. I'm just the canary in the coal mine. So that's exactly what happened. 30,000%. Fuck this guy, how dare you? I'm like, what? So like a bully, schoolyard bully comes here and eats your lunch, you just say, oh, I'm sorry, sir, and like, you know, like...
Yeah. I didn't mean to forget that was actually your lunch, and I was just holding it for you from the time that my mother made it this morning.
It's like, I'm not gonna make it again and waste the food. I'm like, bro, you didn't waste it, I bought it and you ate it. Like...
That's fucking weird as.
Yeah.
That's so weird, actually.
But I'm doing this like Dirk Gently thing where I'm only kind of like slightly aware of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Do you know about Dirk Gently?
No.
Okay, it's his book. It's about this holistic detective where he kind of like, these cases come to him and he needs to solve them, but he doesn't know how he's gonna do it.
Right.
It just happens. There's like this chance, fate-like thing, and synchronicity, whatever you want to call it, and
Like in the Celestine prophecy.
yeah, So I've got that thing going on where I'm only half aware of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So
I feel like that right now.
yeah, like how did I get here?
I've had families seriously consider framing my suicide.
They tried to do it to me. I got death threats as soon as I spoke out about the abuse in my family.
I don't have family anymore, but yeah, fully. I know exactly, and you can
My
feel it coming.
ex-family.
Yeah, definitely. And you know it's going to happen, and you know if it has happened, if there have been staged suicides, and there are whole sections of people who think that you are gone.
Yeah.
Or you know, like you can just feel it, like in my room. I just like knew there were certain objects that like they would have like used to like make it look like I just like smoked a bunch of weed and like done something heinous like with some kind of a tool and then just like let out on the floor, you know. And if they can't push you to do it, they'll definitely create some kind of a scene.
Triangulation. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking.
Is this because
GPS.
they're trying to basically gaslight and make it seem like your story isn't believable because they've abused you and hurt you and they're worried about what you might say?
I think it's because it's just like quick thinking, it's quick acting. They're scared because as you're trying to expose the real abuse they're going through, there are people who are threatening them at the same time. Very like, and it comes on immediately. Like, you know, they can feel it, they can smell it, they can hear it, taste it. Like, it's like, oh shit, if they don't do something right now, like, we're gonna actually fucking suffer like tonight. Like, we're not gonna make it through the night.
Yeah.
So then plans start to formulate, and it's a bit like, and then you're at the brunt of this, like you're at the bottom of this fucking food chain. It's like, hang on, what? Hang on, where do I go?
It's like they've all had this meeting without you and decided on the new narrative.
Fully.
Yeah, no, I understand
Many
that.
meetings, yeah.
Yeah, when I was calling up my family members and stuff, and like the closest that they could say to draw any kind of acknowledgement to the situation was, sorry, we can't speak with you anymore, you know how the family is, you know, kind of thing. But we'd never actually say, oh, we can't speak to you because you called out the abusers in the family, you know?
It's like, we gotta go, we can't talk to you anymore. We don't feel safe to do it. It's gonna put you in danger if we do it. I've lost everyone in my life because people were trying to defend me from their abusers, and people are at the same time trying to defend themselves from their abusers while I'm trying to defend them from their abusers. And it's gotten to a point where people are so afraid to support or defend or protect me, they will literally have to stage like some kind of like a frustration or a violence to like get me out of their space because they can't communicate about what's going on. And it's so hurtful because like then you're potentially being hurt for trying to help people. So it balances out because you know that you don't deserve it, and like you definitely know that it's not warranted. So I don't really have any problem to continue trying to help people, but at the same time, it's just like, well, now this person or these people who I love are like put into a corner where they like literally have to like try to like kick the shit out of me and like make it seem like they're not hurting me, or like kick the shit out of me like without hurting me.
For the focus of the others around.
Exactly. For the people who are like observing and like waiting to see what they're going to do to defend the honor of those abusers, of that person.
You're reminding me so much of me in so many ways. But like when I was a kid, when I went to school because I studied so bad, I studied so bad.
Yeah.
I couldn't really form any friendships, and because I went to a Steiner school, there was no discipline, so I got my ass kicked constantly. But I made a friend, right? But this person could only be my friend outside of school. When I went in school, they had to treat me like shit like everyone else, or they would get bullied as well, you see.
Kid.
Yeah, so it's the same dynamic.
Wow. Yeah.
Just you're adults now and you're doing the same shit, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's actually a question that I ask a lot on the podcast, was like, you know, what's the biggest consequence that you face for telling the truth? Nobody has any answer, because they're like, whoa, why would I face a consequence for telling the truth when I can just lie and
discovering new truths.
avoid any conflict by just pretending to be something and ignoring things, you know?
Yeah.
That's the generally accepted defense mechanism that we all engage in society, right?
Yeah.
Just put a big fucking plaster over that and pretend it's not there. It'll be a tumor in a few years, do the thing.
Absolutely. It's just avoiding obstacles.
Yeah.
Truths, I guess, for many people are obstacles, or many truths for people are obstacles, and they can't handle all the truths at the same time because they can't make those connections. Maybe their brains aren't healthy enough in that exact moment.
Maybe it's a free will thing. Maybe they're ciphers. Maybe they care more about the Matrix than the real world. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe they're directed.
So they're more invested in the illusion that they've created for themselves and look at the reality of things. So when people in that state, they're so complicit to all the evil around them because they can't look at anything that might cause upset, you know?
Yeah.
And they associate like anyone that draws like canary in the coal mine. That shit's going on with you being that thing, you know? It's like, hey, I'm not the one abusing kids because I'm speaking out and advocating that this shit's going on and maybe we should do something about it. And these cults are still there and they're protected, and all I gotta say is, if it's true what I've been told, and I have good evidence to think that it is, and there is going to be a governmental inquest, that shit's got to fucking hurry the fuck up, man. I don't know how long this shit's going to take, because that can be years in development. It's really political. Byron Bay has some of the most expensive property in the entire world, and the council has a vested interest in squashing any of these stories. You know, like Theo Hayes, the Dutch backpacker, famous one that went missing in Byron.
No, I don't.
Really? Oh.
Was he the guy who was interviewed and he eventually I don't know, bludgeoned someone to death with a hammer or something? No, I'm thinking about something else.
He's a Dutch backpacker that went missing, and because he had some wealthy parents, they started investigating, you know? But the story on the street is that there was a body found at Red Devil Park, and the search party stopped after that. Yeah.
Right.
And there was no public notice whatsoever, you know, because it would be bad press for Byron and that they would lose money from the tourism.
I see.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of story that anyone would tell about, a place like Byron. It's it's all peace and love, but just be careful, because you never know what could happen.
Well, the thing is, I've been hearing these stories since I was a little boy, 5, 9 and shit.
Terrifying. Yeah.
And it's always the same thing. People that nobody cares if they go missing. People with no last names and shit.
Right. I know.
But then here's the thing. You always think that you know shit, but you never do. And this is just the perspective that I have from going there. I thought it was still underground. But then years ago, I was watching this TV show, fucking Ozarks.
What?
Ozarks.
Ozarks. I've
Yeah.
never heard of.
Okay, well, it's a TV show, right?
Okay.
And this family that's on the run, they want to go somewhere and hide out, get out of Dodge, right? And they're like, there's this small little town in New South Wales, Australia called Mullumbimby. We could go there. And I'm like, bro, because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I knew then that it was a place for outlaws. People on the run from the law would go in those hills there because there was less policing there.
Right.
That's what bred all these cults in the first place, you know, because they don't have an oversight and people don't go looking for these homeless children that get recruited into it, you know?
Yeah, it happens to anybody and everybody, depending on where they're going to go next.
Not people with a strong family unit. That's why they target those without it. A real
unit.
family. And it does exist. I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, for real.
Oh.
It is a thing.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but I was still trying to conceptualize that yet.
More so to the point, like, because you don't have one, you have the opportunity perhaps to make one.
Yeah.
Make a real one. Whereas most people in the entire world are under the illusion that they have one, really don't.
Yeah.
And they all just lie to each other and role play family.
And it would break their hearts and kind of like try to figure out truth.
So it's easy to believe the lie, cipher, go in the Matrix, and sell out the fucking Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, but fuck that.
And just fuck with shit. It's just easier to fuck with shit than it is to like
Rock the
try to
boat.
build a new real life with a real family. It's a lot of people. It's easier to try to figure that out by like contending with the chaos and getting into a very, very deep vortex of pain. And then when they try to escape, they're just stolen intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, chemically.
Then you got to build a strong foundation to stand on your own too, because I think most of the lessons in life, at least for me personally, between me and God, has been between you're going to be dependent on someone else, or you're going to stand on your own too and be dependent on me, on God, to solve your problems, right? And for a lot of people, that's a bit too much to put faith in the intangible like that, but when you witness enough supernatural and miracles and you realize it's true, then it's as easy as just reminding yourself that. Being like,
Every fucking moment of every day sometimes. I've had months where it's like, if I didn't like remind myself every second that like I could restart, then I think I'd probably just collapse.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're not your past, you're not your future. You're not even you now. Your idea of you is like a intangible motherfucking thing.